Okay, good afternoon everyone. We meet again today in civic education class. First of all, I would like to say that because this is still in the month of Shawwal, I would like to say Happy Eid Mubarak to you all. And for today, we will discuss about next conception of democracy, and after that I will explain to all of you about the history of democracy in Indonesia. Okay, for democracy there are two main points that need to be fulfilled. First is structure, and second is culture. Okay. What is the culture of democracy? Culture of democracy means democracy is the position of democracy is as a way of life. So it needs like a socialization and internalization all of the democratic values to all citizens. And this will cause to maintain the citizen democratic behavior, whereas the citizen could behave and practicing democratic values in daily life. Democratic culture is really necessary in realizing a democratic government and state. Okay, next is democratic structure. There are several institutions that needed to be exist in the government, in the state, to be called democratic. First is reliable government. Second is the House of Representatives, which is elected and through a democratic elections. Number 3 is political organization or political parties, which are more than one, not just one, but more than one. The function of this political organization is to maintain sustainable relationship with society. Number 4 is free press and mass media. Number 5 is a free judicial system to guarantee human rights and maintain justice. Okay, that is five needed institutions to implement democratic values. So the country or state will be called democratic if it meets two criteria. First is there are structures or democratic government, which is manifest in the existence of democratic institution that we have discussed before. Number 2 is democratic society, which is manifest in the existence of democratic culture. This is the culture. So to create or to maintain democracy, it needs culture and structure. So if the society, the democratic society needs also structure and the culture to maintain democracy in that society. Okay, we will continue to the history of democracy in Indonesia. There are 5 eras for Indonesian democracy. After the proclamation of independence, that era is called revolutionary era. This era happened until 1949, from 1945 to 1949. In this era, the executive and legislative role was run by the board, which called Komite Nasional Indonesia Pusat or Central Indonesian National Committee. In the beginning, KNIP was only appointed to help President Sukarno to run the executive role, to run the government. But in the next process, KNIP also given the legislative power. So this body or Central Indonesian National Committee also could make a rule just like legislative body. So this body has two functions, legislative and also executive, helping the president and making the rules. Okay, that is the first era of Indonesian democracy, which called the revolutionary era, from 1945 to 1949. The second era is liberal democracy, from 1950 to 1957. This is the parliamentary system, which refers to the Dutch parliamentary system. So, which is that the governmental cabinet is responsible to the parliament. In this era, there were many political conflicts, and even though there was a democratic general election, this parliamentary system ended when Ali Sastro-Midjoyo, the prime minister at the time, resigned, and martial law was proclaimed by President Sukarno. Okay, so the second era of liberal democracy is not stable. Yeah. So it ended after 7 years. Okay, we continue to the third era, or it is called guided democracy, from 1959 to 1966. It is a political system which based on gotong royong, or mutual cooperation, and musyawara to reach mufakat, or discussion to reach deliberation to reach consensus. In this type of democracy, Sukarno has the authority to determine what is the best for the nation. On the other side, guided democracy was initiated by Sukarno and military elite to maintain the political balance. So I think this is like a consensus between Sukarno and in military elite to take over the power in the government. Before this, the power in Indonesian government held by the civilian elite. Because of that, military elite and also Sukarno cannot control the government, so they made a consensus, which is called guided democracy. The next era, after the overthrow of Sukarno in the last era of guided democracy. So the next era, or the fourth era, is the New Order era. Same as guided democracy, the New Order version of Pancasila. Pancasila democracy was also based on the fourth principle of Pancasila, or musyawara, deliberation to reach consensus. However, the New Order claimed that their version of Pancasila is pure and does not deviate from the 1945 Constitution. And the last era is the Reform era. After 32 years in power, Suharto have to resign in 1998 because of the economic and political crisis, and there are lots of demonstration at the time that asked Suharto to be resigned, and that is why he decided to resign as a president. And that is the beginning of the fifth era, or the Reform era, which took place after the downfall of the New Order regime. And there were several changes in the 1945 principal constitution, which include the limitation of term of office of Indonesian president and also direct election. So that is the change, several changes in the reform era. Okay, I think that's all for today. If you have any questions, you may deliver it in the Zoom meeting. Okay, thank you for your kind attention. Until next week, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.